All right, welcome back to WMMA now with your host Chuck Stevenson, coming at you with a fight review. So we're going to Bellator 252, Pitbull versus Carvalho. We're going to the strawweight division. Taylor-Melendez coming in at 4-0, taking on Emilee coming in at 4-3. So I'm going to try not to sound mean here. This was a complete and utter mismatch. Kind of knew this going in. But, you know, Bellator, they justified it with, well, you know, King just beat Ava Knight, who she was an underdog against for whatever reason. So, matched her up against Keri Melendez. This fight is an example of what happens when you take someone who started martial arts in their early to mid-20s and now in their mid to late 20s still hasn't come very far, compared to someone who's in their mid-30s and has been practicing for well over a decade. In fact, longer than that, probably at least 15 years. The experience fact, excuse me, overall martial arts experience factor between Keri Melendez and Emilee was just astronomical. Basically everything that Emilee did, Melendez basically threw back at her just twice as hard, twice as fast, multiple times as polished. I mean, King came out, first thing she did, first shot King landed was a side kick. And Melendez caught it, straight up threw a punch. Melendez caught the kick. King tried to throw a couple punches at Melendez, and Melendez just threw one hard punch back, snapped King's head back, you know, like Big John McCarthy said, like a Pez dispenser. And that basically set the tone for the entire fight. Everything that King did, Melendez threw back, like I said, twice as hard, twice as fast, many times as polished. I mean, if King threw a kick, Melendez threw a kick, and it was just that much better. King threw a punch, Melendez threw 2 or 3 punches that hurt King. One big thing that kept frustrating me was Emilee would kind of throw a jab, but then like kind of halfway throw it and then almost hammer fist it home. Like, that's not how you throw a jab. When Melendez threw a jab, excuse me, Melendez threw a jab. When Melendez threw a kick to the body, she threw it to hurt. So a couple minutes into the fight, Melendez throws a kick to the body, you know, kind of hurts King, has her going backing up towards the cage. Melendez throws a big knee to the body that, you know, basically sends King to the ground. Melendez follows after, hops on back, sinks in the rear naked choke. Within a few seconds, Emilee has tapped out. So your winner of this bout, Keri Melendez via submission due to rear naked choke, 3 minutes, 2 seconds of the first round. For things to work on, for Melendez, I don't have anything. I mean, she performed flawlessly. She stopped any takedown attempts. She outstruck Emilee Just did. This was a flawless performance. For Emilee where do I start? Striking fundamentals. Striking fundamentals. Find a boxing gym. Do not pick up the gloves for at least 3 weeks. At least 3 weeks. Get a good coach there that will have you working on fundamentals and shadow boxing, because that's how far back she needs to go. She needs to work on the absolute basics. Once she does that, then she can go back to grappling. Find a wrestling coach that will teach her a proper takedown. That way she's not just diving, excuse me, for the legs all the time. Like I said, basics, fundamentals, particularly the striking. Now for fights to make. For Emilee Bellator is probably not going to bring her back. Unless they fly her out to Europe, they don't really do strawweight bouts, and Melendez already announced that she's going to go to flyweight, so they're not going to bother him with strawweight bouts anymore. For Keri Melendez, she's going to go to to flyweight. Already announced it. So who do they match her up with? I think Bruna Ellen is a fair enough test. Ellen is currently 5-3. She's coming off a loss last December in Hawaii to Juliana Velasquez. Ellen is definitely a far better fighter than Emilee King was. Not so great that she would blow Melendez out of the water at her first fight at flyweight. So I think Melendez versus Bruna Ellen would be a decent fight to make there. Okay, so those are my thoughts on this fight. You know, like I said, going in, mismatch. You know, what people have come to call a Bellator special. And that's nothing against Emilee King. She seems like a really nice person, but just does not belong at that level yet. So, got to go back to the basics for her. Keri Melendez is going to go to flyweight, try to get in as many fights as she can. She's already 36. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on the fight in the comments down below. I'll link to it in the pinned comment. If you liked the video, please give it a like, and while you're at it, go ahead and subscribe to WMMA Now, the most complete women's mixed martial arts dedicated platform on YouTube. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.